Everybody, and welcome to this online version of the National Variations on a Theme. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Anne Howitt, and I'm the convener of the Skills and Events Committee for the Scottish Women's Institute. So it's my pleasure to be here today to facilitate this competition. It will be a wee bit different because we're not in a hall, we don't have the atmosphere, which we can help to create that. So while the performances are being shown to us, we'll be muted. If you could keep yourselves muted, and then at the end of the performance, if you want to do an applause or do something, or even use the reactions button at the bottom, I'm sure the teams would appreciate that at the end of each performance. So we have a Jim Gibson. You'll see Jim there, and the only gentleman that's joining us today. So Jim's our adjudicator, and I'll tell you a bit more about him later on. So if we're all... Sorry? Did somebody say something there? No?
I think it was someone said they're having a problem hearing things, but I'll message them because they're not going to be able to hear us, help them.
Right, okay, that's fine, right. So I hope everybody's okay. This is being recorded, and it will be available on the YouTube, the TV later on, and maybe next week sometime. So we're ready now. Are the girls ready? Charlotte and Beth are in the office doing the background work. They're the technical team. So we very much appreciate what they're doing and what the work they've put into it to make this a nice, easy look at event. So I think we're ready for the first team, are we, girls? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's make sure everyone can see this.
An introduction. The first team up today is Dumfriesshire Federation with Abby Baxter, Anne Roberts, Mima Telfer and Sally Byrne. So we really welcome them and if you can give them a round of applause or show your appreciation. This is the programme. Normally you would have this printed out, but the details of the programme, the committee meeting, and we've got an SWR trip, sounds ominous, fighting cancer, observations of a traveller, conflicts all over the world, Cuddle Down and Hamlet parody. So ladies, sit back and enjoy the first performance.
Welcome, ladies. I am utterly thrilled to sit before you as your new president. I come to you with a heart full of excitement and a head brimming with ideas.
Welcome to your new role, Madam President. We have apologies from Elma, our press secretary, who just can't cope with Zoom.
As Vice President, I'm delighted to have you at the helm. President, I'm looking forward to working together.
Oh, let's hope these grand ideas of yours won't leave us penniless.
Now, Madam President, you know, we are the backbone of our institute. You'll see we are a well-oiled machine and we don't need any unnecessary changes.
Well, as you know, change often carries with it a sense of uncertainty. But my dear friends, change is the heart of progress and survival. Here in this wonderful gathering of ours, I see the potential for a symphony of new experiences, laughter and shared moments. I want our Scottish Women's Institute to be a beacon of inspiration. That's why I'm bringing forth some exciting new proposals. A virtual talent show that will unveil the hidden stars amongst us, or to get us up and moving, a series of shared yoga classes from a lady in Australia via our Zoom. Of course, there will be the monthly newsletter sent straight to your inbox. This is our time, our moment, to make our institute not only a place that endures, but flourishes.
Well, I'm eager to delve deeper into these plans.
The talent show, yoga, the newsletter. Well, they sound intriguing, but how much is it all going to cost?
Aye, great. Another digital newsletter. Been there, done that. Send it all to spam.
I love the concept of blending tradition with innovation, but it must be practical for everyone.
Of course, we'll find a balance that respects our roots while embracing the future.
And speaking of balance, can we discuss the financial aspects?
We'll work together to make sure our dreams align with our financial reality.
Our dreams? You're joking. Digital newsletters, online chair yoga. What's wrong with the village hall?
Change can be uncomfortable, but let's consider the possibilities. A virtual tea party, perhaps, or dare I say, even a virtual cocktail party.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Again, how much is this all going to cost?
I must say, this is not how I thought this would go.
Ladies, may I suggest that we move on to something a little more urgent? We do have to submit our entry to the SWI National Variations on a Theme by the end of the week.
No one told me that.
Well, it was in last month's minutes.
Hello,
Did you not read them when I posted them out to you?
Sorry, I couldn't read the handwriting.
Well, any ideas, ladies?
What's the theme?
Conflict.
I know, let's tell the president about that trip to Morecambe Bay.
You be Mrs. Jolly.
Good morning, Agnes dear. How are you today? I'm looking forward to our outing to sunny Morecambe Bay, one of my favourite places with the sun, the sea and the sand, the shops and the amusements and the new Adventureland.
I'd never have put my name down if I'd known our destination. The sea air makes me queasy and gives me palpitations. I can't do very much walking because I suffer from arthritis. And the wind gets in my throat and always gives me laryngitis.
Oh, come on, Agnes dear, the coach is here for us. I hope we get a good seat near the front of the bus. The seats are very comfy, and when your strength's declining, you just lift the handrest and you'll find yourself reclining.
I don't like travelling by coach. It always makes me ill. I was in such a rush this morning, I forgot to take my pill. The atmosphere is stuffy when the air conditioning's off. And with the windows opened, it only makes me cough.
Oh, I've bought a flask of coffee for both of us to share with a bag of chocolate biscuits. Or would you rather have a pair? And help yourself to sandwiches, Agnes dear, and later on we'll have some whelks or cockles on the pier.
Oh, please don't mention food or drink. I'm feeling very queasy. The sausages I had for breakfast really were too greasy. I'll take a couple of settlers, then later on I'll risk it. And try some cockles or some whelks and just a chocolate biscuit. It's been a nightmare journey. I never should have come. I don't know how I'll manage to survive the journey home. Next year, I think I'll stay at home.
Well, that certainly expresses a clash of personalities and a conflict of attitudes. Any other suggestions?
What about fighting cancer? Now, there's a conflict. The surgeon's weapons wielded with sharp precision to evict the aggressor. The poisonous chemical onslaught surges, seeking out enemy enclaves, but leaving much collateral damage in its wake. The radiation's lethal rays aim to exterminate. This conflict is a necessary evil. This conflict is crucial for survival.
I like that.
Oh, no, you wouldn't.
No, I meant it's a good poem. Good conflict.
There's also environmental conflict. Observations of a traveller. We all love a holiday, a break away from the usual routine, a time to relax and refresh mind and body, whether our destination be far-flung and exotic or closer to home. Is it exploring other cultures, new experiences, new foods, different ways of life, meeting new people, exchanging views and ideas? Or just escaping the dreich weather at home? Maybe we travel for business, not pleasure. Important meetings to be attended, deals to be closed, politicians attending summits, vital talks to try and alleviate international conflicts, travelling the world in pursuit of election to office, conferences to attend. However we travel, near or far, there is an environmental impact using fossil fuel vehicles. At the airport, human beings like ants scurrying through the concourse, anxious to get to the gate for their flight. Meanwhile, the behemoths with the aviation-fueled jet engines await on the tarmac for their payload to board before taking off and emitting CO2 and other noxious substances into the atmosphere. What price travel and tourism? Employment opportunities, inward investment into foreign infrastructure, incoming foreign currency, development in underdeveloped areas. A strain on local resources. Water is a privilege, not a resource. Clearing land for roads and building developments. The need for power. Travel and exploration has long been a part of life. Travel broadens the mind. But we should ever be mindful of the cost.
Oh, yes, that's very relevant. I was thinking about conflicts all over the world. Think of conflict, think of war. ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, civil war in Syria, civil war in Libya, Rohingyas die in Myanmar, Uyghurs oppressed in China, North Korea, South Korea, tensions in Armenia. Then there's India and Pakistan, insurgent groups in Afghanistan, disagreements in Vietnam, harassments in Taiwan, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Congo, Mali, and Sudan, Ayatollahs in Iran, and more disputes in Azerbaijan. Drug cartels in Colombia, Mexico, Mozambique, and Somalia, war in Ukraine and Russia, war in Israel and Gaza, Tamils fight in Sri Lanka, terrorists fight in Nigeria, Cyprus, Egypt and Morocco, Philippines, Yemen and the Congo, Senegal and even Turkey, Houthi rebels in the Red Sea. Conflicts can be more than occasional, political and territorial, religious and international, environmental, legal, family and cultural. So solutions need dialogue and mediation, agreed talks and negotiation, compromise and give and take, cooperation, accommodation, United Nations resolutions. We can find the best solutions. All we are hoping is give peace a chance.
Wow, that's a serious list of conflicts.
Well, conflict is all around us. Every time you turn the telly on, nearly every news article is about some kind of conflict. In fact, if there wasn't any conflict, there wouldn't be much news.
Speaking of telly, there's always conflict over whose turn it is to watch what.
Oh yes, the great remote control battle. But really, in the grand scheme of things, it's a fairly minor family conflict. It's a bit like the battle of wills to get the kids to bed at night.
Oh, now that reminds me of the Cuddle Down poem. The bairnies cuddle down at night wi' muckle focht and din. Oh, try and sleep, you walk-right frogs, your father's coming in. They never heed a word I speak. I try to gie a frown, but I harp them up and cry. Oh, bairnies, cuddle down. Wee Jamie with the curly head, he aye sleeps next the wall, bangs up and cries, I want a piece. The rascal starts them all. I run and fetch them pieces, drinks. They stop away as soon, then draw the blankets up and cry, Now weenies, cuddle down. But ere 5 minutes gang, wee Rab cries out beneath the clays, Mother, make Tam gie out at yins, he's kittling wi' his taes. Oh, the mischief's in that Tam for tricks. He'd bother half the town, but I harp them up and cry, Oh, bairnies, cuddled in. At length they hear their father spit, and as he sticks the door, they turn their faces to the wall, and Tam pretends to snore. Hey, all the wain's been good, he asks, as he puts off his shin. The bear and his John are in their bed, and lang since cuddled in. And just afore we bed ourselves, we look at our wee lambs. Tam has his arm round wee Rab's neck, and Rab his arm round Tam's. I lift wee Jamie up the bed, and as I strake each croon, I whisper till my heart fills up o' bairnies cuddled in.
Well, at least there's usually a resolution to that conflict.
I can remember some nights when there wasn't much resolution. Not much sleep for everyone.
Oh, come on, Google. I found this. What do you think about conflict in the parody of Hamlet's soliloquy? To Zoom or not to Zoom? That is the question. Is it better to endure the technical hiccups and frustrations of an online meeting, or take action against the slew of mute buttons and the pains of automatic updates, and by opposing, put an end to the laggy connections? To unmute, to perhaps even to be heard, that is the challenge. For in that moment of unmuting, what conversations may be had, which must give us cause to reflect on the new techie making meetings seeming never ending. All the important tasks and decisions now lost in the fray, with the constant chimes of "You're on mute," leading the meeting astray. Good intentions seem to lose their significance, overthinking and shortcomings, or full-on rebellion. But wait a moment, dear members, hold strong. Remember, all our meetings, for they may be long, they are but fair and rewardingly undergone. And finally, with a command, end meeting, all is done.
So does that mean all this high-tech stuff isn't all it's cracked up to be?
Well, never said it was perfect.
But I think we can all recognise that there are some advantages to embracing the technology.
Well, I suppose it did save us going out in the bucket and rain tonight.
And it didn't cost us anything to get here.
That's true. But I do accept we have to have some meetings in that very pretty village hall of ours.
Definitely. Use it or lose it.
Good. And I will endeavour to have the meetings, the minutes, typed out in future.
Very good, ladies. And I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. Excellent. Thank you. And safe journey back to your living rooms.
Oh,
Well done, ladies. That was excellent. We all managed to do a wee round of applause there, did we? Earlier on, I didn't welcome our national president, Mary Burnley. Sorry, Mary, should have introduced you. Welcome.
Nice to be there.
Good, that's lovely. Our next performance, if the girls are ready, we okay? Next performance is from Fetter Cairn, SWI in Kincardineshire Federation, with Ellie Finlayson, Helen Ritchie, Moira Parker, and Morag Christie. So they have a line up here of pieces from the team, from various. Toddler Conflict, that's by Morag Christie. School Child Conflict, written by Helen Ritchie. Teenager Conflict, written by Morag Christie. Romeo and Juliet Dundee Style, that's written by Ellie Finlayson. Then Conflict in the Kitchen by Moira, and Scrabble Battle, written by Ellie Finlayson. So ladies, we'll look forward to hearing their variation from Fetter Cairn, variation of Conflict.
War.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. Conflict doesn't need to be a war between two countries, races, or religions. It can be personal conflict in families, with friends or neighbours. It can be at workplaces and at sporting events. Conflict can affect different age groups, genders, singly or in a group. We are going to tackle conflict through different age groups, starting with an example of toddler conflict.
Late one afternoon, a young mum nipped out to her garage to empty her washing machine. She left her youngest son, who was just about to turn 2, in the kitchen. She closed the patio doors with a catch, as he was always keen to get outside. When she tried to open the door to get back in, she couldn't. While the young boy was trying to get out, he'd managed to turn the key in the lock. After what seemed a lengthy time, trying with lots of gentle persuasion, cajoling, and using her hands to demonstrate how to turn the key, they were no further forward. The toddler turned his back, stamped his feet, and started to walk away.
What next? The fire brigade?
Her older son was up in his room playing on his Xbox, but he wears headphones. The mum tried bouncing footballs off his bedroom window, but that didn't work. So she called his mobile phone repeatedly. She even called her dad to get him to keep calling his phone. Again, no result.
What next? The police?
The poor mum was left standing outside in the cold, trying frustratingly to get the toddler to turn the key. The toddler was getting fed up with his mum trying to get him to turn the key, so in a final act of defiance, he closed the curtains and walked away.
What next? Throw a stone through the patio door.
At last, her eldest son appeared at the patio doors and unlocked them. The toddler had managed to get up the stairs to his big brother's bedroom. He realised something was up and saved the day. To save another episode of toddler conflict, the key is now kept out of the lock.
If you thought toddlers were bad, let's look at school-age children.
When I was at primary school, the belt was in frequent use, often for fighting in the playground, but this depended very much on the teacher. Some belted for the smallest misdemeanour, while others were more attuned with the children in their class. My story is of a teacher who avoided conflict by making it easier for the guilty party and did not rely on others telling tales. School policy in some education authorities after the Second World War was that pupils had to empty their pockets onto the teacher's desk before break time and collect their belongings on return. One day, a threepenny piece had gone missing from this particular class. The teacher dealt with it by saying, "Now, children, I think we've had a bad fairy in the room during playtime. She has made a threepenny bit disappear from my desk. Let's all put our heads down on our desks and keep our eyes tightly shut. If we wish very hard, then perhaps the bad fairy will come back with the money. And let's all promise not to peek in case she decides not to come." The teacher led by example and the class followed. Within a few seconds, she felt a soft poke at her shoulder, heard a coin being slid across her desk, and heard a small voice whispering, "She must have put it in my pooch, the bitch."
Conflict in secondary schools only gets worse when you throw hormones into the mix.
The most conflicted age group must be teenagers, and everyone here has been one, and some of you may have raised one or two. Teenagers, when asked where you are going out, usually answer,
Out.
"When will you be back?"
Later.
"What will you be doing?"
Meeting my friends.
"Well, you can't go out wearing that, you'll freeze."
Don't care.
These answers are a teenager's way of saying, "Mind your own business," and that's the polite version. Nowadays, mobile phones have added another dimension to the parent-teenager situation. I suspect most parents nowadays have, at some time, put a GPS tracker on their teenagers' phones to know where they are at all times. That is, until they learn to disable it. The world is a different place from when I was a teenager, or even when my kids were teenagers. I will tell you a tale of when I was a teenager. Hard to imagine, I know. I attended Cults Academy, and one lunchtime, when I was in 5th year, I went outside to meet a young gentleman who had arrived on a motorbike. While standing, chatting, and having a cigarette in a very short mini-skirt and school blazer, I was caught with a deputy head and told to report to the female supervisor, a Miss Saunders, an elderly grey-haired woman. I did that after lunch. She was not best pleased at me bringing down the school reputation. As a result, I not only got a bawling out, but got belted as well. Saddest thing is, I can't remember who the young gentleman was.
Well, she certainly didn't marry him then. And that leads us to weddings. We all hope they will be conflict-free, but that is not always the case.
So, today's the big day. Angela's getting married to Pete. Angela, how are the nerves?
Yeah, I'm excited, but nervous and anxious at the same time. All of Pete's family are coming, and as you know, they are all from Fintry, and mine are all from Kirkton. I just hope that everyone behaves.
Oh, Angela, don't worry too much. I'm sure they all love you, so it will be fine.
Hey, did you hear that Angela's brother and his pals had strong words with Pete? They told him he'd better not hurt Angela, or he'd have all the Fintry shams to answer to. Apparently, they all surrounded Pete to make sure the message was clear.
No, I didn't hear that, but Marty, Pete's brother, is well in with the Kirkton Huns gang. I can't imagine that this wedding is going to go down well. They are big rivals going back years and years in the history of Dundee.
I heard some of the Kirkton Huns talking about it in the Downfield bar last night. They were joking that Angela and Pete are the Dundee version of Romeo and Juliet.
We better get over to the church so we don't miss any of the ceremony.
Oh, wow. Many of the wedding guests are wearing their Kirkton or Fintry colours to show clearly which side of the divide they are. I hope that's not an indication of things to come.
Well, I'm pleased for the couple that the ceremony went well. Let's go to the reception and get this party started.
Thanks everyone for coming to share my big day. I'm so pleased that I can share it with all of you.
It's very them and us in here, isn't it? Fintry shams to the left and Kirkton Huns to the right. I hope they are all now supporting the new Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, we're getting the speeches now. I love this part of a wedding.
Well, that was an eye-opener, wasn't it? It wasn't just the cake that was in tears. Poor Angela. I hope she is okay. The best man didn't really have to tell the joke about Pete, saying that if he does a good job today, he might get to be best man at his next wedding too.
The band are quite good, aren't they? Oh gosh, what's happening over there?
It looks like Angela's auntie is facing up to one of Pete's cousins. She's just taken her shoe off.
Oh gosh, is that Angela's dad now squaring up some of Pete's family?
Where have all these extra people come from? There seems to be more Fintry shams arriving than were here before. It's a sea of burgundy and grey jumpers over there.
Pete's granny seems to be getting in on the action now. She just walloped one of the Kirkton lads over the head with her handbag.
Oh, what a day. Sorry about this, ladies. Someone has called the police, so if you want to get out of here before they start taking names and numbers, then I would make a break for it now.
Yes, that's a good idea. Let's leave them to it. I hope you get away for your honeymoon, Angela, without any issues.
Oh, don't worry about us. I have a contact in the police. She's on her way to give us a blue light escort out of here. Just have to nip through the kitchen so that my parents don't get upset that I ditched them mid-fight. One of the younger lads has video footage of Pete's granny hitting one of the Kirkton Hun leaders and then pulling a hammer out of her handbag. So I'm not sticking around here for her to get arrested. I'm not sure 2 weeks in Tenerife will be enough of a break to let them all calm down.
Well, they say all the best weddings have a fight. Speaking of fighting, let's hear about a kitchen conflict.
On a recent heat for Great British Menu, 4 chefs competed to represent their regions. The first heat went off as usual. A healthy competition where reputations were at stake, but all the chefs were willing to help each other finish off their dishes. David, the chef with the least points, went out. On the next heat, Callum was overambitious and completely overestimated what was achievable. This changed the atmosphere in the kitchen as all the chefs became stressed. Kevin and AJ did their best to help out Callum while still looking after their own dishes, but they were all affected. The marking of the dishes did seem a bit strange, as Callum only had time to blowtorch his meat, but was marked higher than AJ, who was judged after him. AJ had overcooked his rice as he had been distracted helping and was marked down more than Callum. This did not go down well with AJ, as he obviously felt hard done by. On the next round, there was no love lost between the chefs. The conflict in the kitchen was obvious, and a lot was riding on the last dish. AJ was keen to make up the points and avoid elimination, but his dish required a long time in the blast chiller. Initially, he refused to let Callum and Kevin open the chiller. This caused a lot of bad feeling and added even more stress and animosity into the mix. Callum had the least points and was eliminated. The final should have gone well, but unfortunately, there was still bad feeling and conflict in the kitchen, to the detriment of both chefs. Neither of them cooked to the best of their abilities, as the food was not cooked with love, which was obvious in the judging chamber. This showed that it's difficult to operate at your best under stressful conditions and where tempers are frayed. Conflict does not bring out the best in people, and neither Kevin nor AJ produced dishes to the standard that they would have expected.
Now for something completely different.
In the cosy den of Mrs. Wordsworth's abode, 2 ladies squared off, their brows in code, their weapons wooden tiles alphabetically stacked, and dictionaries thick as oaks, wisdom packed. Eloise was the first to strike, her spectacles perched, her vowels just right. She placed bijou on the board with flair. Triple word score, Eloise tossed her silver hair. But Veronica verbosity, her rival in strife, she raised an eyebrow, her consonants rife. She countered with flapjack, a tasty delight. Double letter score, the room buzzed with might. Eloise's eyes narrowed, her vowels rearranged. Jukebox, she declared, her strategy unchanged. Triple letter score. Veronica's jaw clenched. She'd been outplayed, her pride dented, wrenched. Back and forth they battled, words flung like darts. Quokka, zebra, xylophone. Their hearts pounded with consonants, vowels and glee. The Scrabble board, a battlefield of lexical spree. Eloise tried juxtapose, Veronica whiz bang. They danced through the alphabet like yin and yang. Double, triple, triple. Their scores soared high, their lexemes collided, reached for the sky. And so in that den of lexical delight, 2 ladies embraced, their rivalry light. For Scrabble had taught them, word by word, that language was magic, absurd, and absurdly absurd. So next time you play, dear listener, beware. The Scrabble board hides secrets, challenge is rare. And remember Eloise and Veronica's grand brawl, where words clashed like titans and endless laughter for all.
Conflict exists in every walk of life. But remember,
War?
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Well done, ladies. That was excellent. Thank you. We got a big round of applause for the ladies. Not easy doing this on Zoom. Well done.
Oh, no.
The next team up is from Lanarkshire Federation, and it's Gilmerton SWI. And we have with them Fiona Leggett, Jennifer Campbell, Nancy Anderson, and Sandy Walmsley. So we'll look forward to what they have to say on conflict. their introduction, and then The Committee by Michelle Black, Learning the Wife to Drive from a Drapey Doric read by Helen, Family in the World War One by Olive Henry, and Flanders Field by John McCrae, Playground Conflict, Silicon Valley International School Blog read by Fiona, Menopause by Tracy Sullivan and read by Katrina, and The SWI by Fiona Cooper from Mary Kirk SWI, read by all. So we're looking forward to that performance, ladies. Sit back and relax.
Gilmerton SWI present our variations on the theme of conflict.
Okay, can we interrupt a moment? We've got them things muddled up. You've put up the names, the pieces for Mary Kirk SWI under Gilmerton.
Oh, so it is.
Instead of Mary Kirk.
Is this the Gilmerton ones here then?
Yes.
Yeah,
it should be the
right. Right, we'll still go on with the Gilmerton one. That's the Gilmerton ones here. I don't know, Anne, if you want to read them out.
That's better.
Yeah, just ignore the Mary Kirk at the top. I'll go back to the Gilmerton.
Right, okay. Right, sorry, ladies. Let's do that again. So, The Battle of the Remote Control has been written by Fiona Leggett, performed by Sandy Walmsley. The Scots Lament, written by Will Fife and performed by Nancy Anderson. The Battleground, which is an extract, written by Ellen Glasgow in 1902, performed by Jennifer Campbell. The Zacks, written by Dr. Seuss in 1961, performed by Sandy Walmsley. The Man from Athabasca, it's an extract and written by Robert W. Service way back in, he was from 1874 to 1958, and that's performed by Fiona Leggett. The Briggs of Ayr, an extract from Robert Burns, performed by Nancy Anderson and Jennifer Campbell. And then Flower of Scotland, which was written by Roy Williamson and performed by all. Apologies, ladies, for that being round the wrong way, but a welcome to the ladies from Gilmerton SWI.
Gilmerton SWI present our variations on the theme of conflict. As with confidence we predicted, this theme has made us sair conflicted. Do we concentrate on worlds at war, or does strife domestic go that far? There's not an object on this earth, but some ill-set buddy thinks it's worth to stand their ground and fight for gain, and bring countless masses grief and pain. Fiona.
The depth and width of the chosen theme is no doubt a challenge, but we have a scheme. We'll ask for help in the modern sense and try artificial intelligence. Conflict. In the heart of every storm, conflict brews, a tempest swirling, tearing old from you. It dances in the shadows, whispers in the night, a relentless force, a constant inner fight. It rises like a mountain, looming tall and vast, challenging the present, gripping the past. It echoes in the silence and reverberates within, a battle fought beneath the skin. Conflict, oh conflict, a tangled web you weave, testing our resolve, asking us to believe. In the clash of ideals, in the clash of wills, we search for peace on distant hills. Yet in this chaos, there's beauty to behold, as from conflict's fire, new stories are told. It sparks innovation, ignites the flame, a catalyst for growth, though never quite the same. So let us embrace the turmoil, the discord that we find, for within the struggle lies a chance to realign, to mend what's broken, to bridge the great divide, and emerge from conflict with newfound pride. Sandy.
AI is stimulating, quite majestic. Now let's look at scenes more domestic. The battle of the remote control. In a living room far, far away, a conflict brewed one fateful day. Two siblings, Jake and Kate, did vie for the TV remote control. Oh my. With popcorn popped and snacks in hand, they sat on the couch for the program they'd planned. But as the show began to play, a dispute arose without delay. Jake, I want to watch the game, you see. Football is the best for me. Kate, but wait, I want to watch my show. It's about kittens and where they go. Their voices rose. They began to shout, each refusing to back down or flout. They heaved and pulled a mighty tug of war because that remote was worth fighting for. But in the midst of their silly fight, they both caught a glimpse of a wondrous sight. The remote flew up into the air and landed with a bounce in an empty chair. They looked at each other with wide-eyed surprise. They burst into laughter. They both lost the prize. And in that moment, it was clear to see the silliness of their rivalry. So they settled down on the couch once more, sharing the remote as they did before. For in the end, it's not about who wins, but the joy of sharing life's little whims. And so, dear friends, let this tale be told of the battle of the remote control, where laughter triumphed over strife and siblings learned a valuable lesson in life. Nancy.
Conflicts of conscience, the age-old caricature of the canny Scot, as portrayed by Will Fife. The Scots lament. I'm Scots and I'm married. Two things I can't help. I'm married, but I have no wife. For she bolted and left me. But that's nothing new. It happens so often in life. So I journeyed to London, for that's where she'd gone, with her lover, to hide her disgrace. And though London's a big town, I swore I'd not rest till I'd searched every street in the place. And I tramped, weary mile upon mile, till exhausted and ready to drop. I would not give in, so I climbed in a bus, and I took a front seat at the top. We came to a halt in a brightly lit square. To my joy, there my lassie I spied, looking weary and worn, but thank heaven alone. From my heart, Maggie, Maggie, I cried. She gasped with delight as I rose from my seat, but a harrowing thought made me wince. I couldn't get off, for I'd just paid my fare, and I've never caught sight of her since. Jennifer.
It is a feature of humanity that mankind loves a battle, but the opened eyes and broken hearts come with deepened senses and revealed beauty. The American Civil War, as described in The Battleground by Ellen Glasgow. Dan lay down upon the blanket and, with his hand upon his knapsack, gazed at the small red ember burning amid the ashes. When the last spark faded into blackness, it was as if his thoughts went groping for a light. Sleep came fitfully in flights and pauses, in broken dreams and brief awakenings. Losing himself at last, it was only to return to the woods at Cherrycoke and to see Betty coming to him among the dim blue bodies of the trees. He saw the faint sunshine falling upon her head and the stir of the young leaves above her as a light wind passed. Under her feet, the grass was studded with violets, and the bonnet swinging from her arm was filled with purple blossoms. She came on steadily over the path of grass and violets, but when he reached out to touch her, a great shame fell over him, for there was blood upon his hand. There was something cold in his face, and he emerged slowly from his sleep into the consciousness of dawn and a heavy rain. The swollen clouds hung close above the hills, and the distance was obscured by the grey sheets of water which fell like a curtain from heaven to earth. Nearby, a wagon had drawn up in the night, and he saw that a group of half-drenched privates had already taken shelter between the wheels. Gathering up his oilcloth, he hastily formed a tent with the aid of a deep fence corner, and when he had drawn his blanket across the opening, sat partly protected from the shower. As the damp air blew into his face, he became quickly and clearly awake, and it was with a glimmer of a smile that he looked over the wet meadow and the sleeping regiments. Then a shudder followed, for he saw in the lines of grey men stretched beneath the rain some likeness to that other field beyond the hill, where the dead were still lying, row on row. He saw them stark and cold on the scorched grass beside the guns, or in the thin ridges of trampled corn where the gay young tassels were now storm-beaten upon the ripped-up earth. He saw them as he had seen them the evening before, not in the glow of battle, but with the acuteness of a brooding sympathy. Saw them frowning, smiling, and with features which death had twisted into a ghastly grin. They were all there, each man with open eyes and stiff hands grasping the clothes above his wound. But to Dan, sitting in the grey dawn in the fence corner, the first horror faded quickly into an emotion almost triumphant. The great field was silent, reproachful, filled with accusing eyes. But was it not filled with glory too? He was young, and his weakened pulses quickened at the thought. Since men must die, where was a brighter death than to fall beneath the flutter of the colours with the thunder of the cannon in one's ears? He knew now why his fathers had loved a fight, had loved the glitter of the bayonets and the savage smell of the discoloured earth. For a moment, the old spirit flashed above the peculiar sensitivity which had come to him from his childhood and his suffering mother. Then the flame went out, and the rows of dead men stared at him through the falling rain in the deserted field. Sandy.
Some conflicts are on a much smaller scale, but can still cause a big problem. This is the case with the north-going Zacks and the south-going Zacks. The Zacks by Dr. Seuss. One day, making tracks in the prairie of Prax, came a north-going Zacks and a south-going Zacks, and it happened that both of them came to a place where they bumped. There they stood, foot to foot, face to face. Look here now, the north-going Zack said. I say, you're blocking my path. You're right in my way. I'm a north-going Zax, and I always go north. Get out of my way now and let me go forth. Who's in whose way? Snapped the south-going Zax. I always go south, making south-going tracks. So you're in my way, and I ask you to move and let me go south in my south-going groove. Then the north-going Zax puffed his chest up with pride. I never, he said, take a step to one side, and I'll prove to you that I won't change my ways if I have to keep standing here 59 days. And I'll prove to you, yelled the south-going Zax, that I can stand here in the prairie of Prax for 59 years, for I live by a rule that I learnt as a boy back in south-going school. Never budge. That's my rule. Never budge in the least. Not an inch to the west, not an inch to the east. I'll stay here, not budging. I can and I will, if it makes you and me and the whole world stand still. Well, of course, the world didn't stand still. The world grew. In a couple of years, the new highway came through, And they built it right over those two stubborn zacks and left them there, standing unbudged in their tracks. Fiona.
Within living memory, but only just, our world experienced what was called the war to end all wars. The Great War, the First World War, drew in people from all over, and it left its mark on humanity for all time. The man from Athabasca. Oh, the wife, she tried to tell me 'twas nothing but the strumming of a woodpecker a-rapping on the hollow of a tree, and she thought that I was fooling when I said it was a drumming of the mustering of legions, and 'twas calling unto me. 'Twas calling me to pull my freight and hop across the sea. Then down the lake came half-breed Tom with russet sail a-flying, and the word he said was war again. So what was I to do? Oh, the dogs they took to howling, and the missus took to crying, as I flung my silver foxes in the little birch canoe. Yes, the old girl stood a-blubbing till an island hid the view. Says the factor, Mike, you're crazy, they have soldier men a-plenty. You're as grizzled as a badger, and you're 60 year or so. But I haven't missed a scrap, says I, since I was 1 and 20. And shall I miss the biggest? You can bet your whiskers no. So I've sold my furs and started, and that's 18 months ago. Now I've had my fill of fighting, and I've seen a nation scattered, and an army swung to slaughter, and a river red with gore, and a city all a-smoulder, and as if it really mattered, for the lake is yonder dreaming, and my cabin's on the shore, and the dogs are leaping madly, and the wife is singing gladly, and I'll rest in Athabasca, and I'll leave it nevermore. Nancy and Jennifer.
Conflicting views can be attributed to inanimate objects too, as Robert Burns revealed when he relayed the conversation between the twa Briggs. Oh, Brig, I doubtna, friend, you'll think you're nae sheepshank, yen she was streakit ower frae bank to bank. But gin ye be a brig as old as me, though faith, that date I doubt you'll never see, there'll be, if that day come, I'll wad a boddle, some fewer Whig malaries in your noddle.
Old Vandal, ye but show your little mens, just much about it with your scanty sense. With your poor narrow footpath o' a street, where twa wheelbarrows tremble when they meet. Your ruined, formless bulk o' stain and line compare with bonny brigs o' modern time. There's men a taste would tak the ducket stream, though they should cast their very sack and soom, ere they would grate their feelings with a view o' sic an ugly Gothic hulk as you.
Conceited gowk, pumped up with windy pride, this many a year I've stood the flood and tide, and though wi' crazy eld I'm sair for fern, I'll be a brig when you're a shapeless cairn. Sandy.
From the fireside to the battlefield, to the world wide web and broken marriage, cantankerous inanimate stonework and thorny roadblockers, it seems there is no end to conflict, yet eventually there is peace. And the beautiful words of Roy Williamson serve to take us beyond conflict to recognition of history and identity.
O flower of Scotland, when will we see your like again, that fought and died for your wee bit hill and glen, and stood against him, proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again?
The hills are bare now, and autumn leaves lie thick and still o'er land that is lost now, which those so dearly held that stood against him, proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again.
Those days are past now, and in the past they must remain. But we can still rise now and be the nation again that stood against him proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again.
Well done, ladies. Very good. All very interesting, the different slides on this. So we'll get this next one, which is Mary Kirk, and we'll get this right this time. So Mary Kirk, SWI from Kincardineshire Federation, with Aileen Weir, Fiona Cooper, Helen MacDonald and Katrina Sower. And the pieces they're going to do is, again, The Committee by Michelle Black, Learning the Wife to Drive from Adrapi Doric, Family in World War I by Olive Henry, In Flanders Field by John McCrae, Playground Conflict with Silicon Valley International School Blog, and Menopause by Tracy Sullivan, and the SWI by Fiona Cooper. So ladies, a welcome to Mary Kirk SWI from Kincardine Federation.
Hi everyone, good to see you all. What are we having today then? I'm for a bannock.
Do you mean an oat cake? That's a weird thing to have with your coffee.
No, a bannock. Oh, of course, you're from up north. You mean a pancake. No, it's called a bannock.
Oh dear, not this old argument again. Talking of disagreements, my sister was telling me about a bit of conflict at the committee.
Sorry to interrupt again, but we're not on screen.
And now we come to item 4 on the agenda. Our charity.
Is that a problem for everyone else, or is it just? It seems to be okay here in the office. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see.
We're not getting. All we're getting is the Gilmerston SWI Lancashire Federation, the list of pieces that are actually ours. We're not seeing our video.
Yes,
oh, that's it. That's it.
Okay, there we go.
Charity fundraiser.
We always have our coffee morning come produce sale in September. Raises a good amount usually.
Well, isn't it time for a change? What about a fashion show? A nearby club did one with charity shop clothes. It was a great laugh.
A fashion show? Can you imagine the work involved? Acquiring clothes, models, sound systems, etc. No, the coffee morning has always been a success.
If I could just... Well, what's always been is not always best, and maybe something different would attract more people.
We've always had a fair turnout. Folk expect the produce sale.
And how much produce was there last year? A boil and a tiny tatties, 2 dodgy leeks and carrots that were most certainly from the co-op, 3 jars of jam, one of which was mouldy, and that elderflower cordial from Mrs. Wilberforce, that would strip paint.
Those carrots were from Marks and Spencer's, I will have you know, and they were only there because Charlie fed ours to the horses. At least it was a contribution.
All contributions are always very welcome, but I must admit the produce sale raises very little. Perhaps some other stalls might be a better idea. Local crafts, perhaps. I don't like to interrupt.
Well, I hardly think the sketches that Mrs. Fortescue is so proud of will raise hundreds. The last one she did of the late Queen made her look like a man in drag.
Yes, well, I'm sure there are a lot of folk with talents that may be more profitable, and people that would appreciate our local contributors' efforts.
Can I just...
Well, back in the day, we had cake and candy, white elephant, bring and buy.
Well, that was back in the day.
I really think we need a different approach altogether. Something new. What about gin tasting?
Oh no, totally out of the question.
Well, it's very popular.
Quiet! I have been trying to tell you that you won't be doing any of these things here for at least 6 months, as the long-awaited hall renovations are finally starting next week.
Well, you might have said that in the first place.
Oh dear. Perhaps that chairperson needs a little bit of help with controlling conflict in her committee. Right, shall we think about our order? Perhaps some scones might be a good idea. What do you think? Plain? Fruit? Cheese? There are so many possibilities.
Oh, yuck, not fruit. That's That's like eating dead flies.
Honestly, you two sound like a bickering married couple. A bit like this pair and their learning to drive experience.
I'll tell you a couple nae very far for here. They've bidden in the how amongst for mony a year. A dow's quaint living pair they were, and never ken to strive until the day that Meg announced she'd like to learn to drive. So Dod got out the car and set her ahint the wheel, and telled her a' about the gears, the clutch and brakes as well. She boxed hersel a pair of L's and read the highway code. Took out a driving lessons and made ready for the road. She practised in the close at home, she practised in the park. She learned up on driving, both in daylight and in dark. And syne a day he said to her, "Put on your coat, my lass, we'll try you on the open road. We'll here run round glass." They started frae the market hill and turning down by Robbie's. Says Geordie, "Noo just watch, or you'll be nabbed by the bobbies. You're causing an obstruction, you're driving far or slow. Use your gearbox, woman, and nae I biding low. Nace is savage with the clutch and canny with the gear. Hadoot among the girths, you've clean forgot to steer. Watch this flock of turkeys that belong to Johnny Stewart. Michty dinna run them down, he'll tap you straight to court. Change up, shove in the choke, change down, less throttle, new some more. Tap your foot right off the clutch, you're causing needless wear. There's twa cars hard upon your tail, they're kicking up as soon. Put your hand and wave them by, nae that why, roon. Now Maggie has a temper, and fegs it wasna wise, to hae her cleaned and funnered, and sign to criticise. For she trampit on the throttle, and was pitting on the speed. Van travelling round the Nuke, came Sandy Moran fae Boghead. Now Sandy's on a thing but sma, and needs a bit of room, and Fanny saw her coming, at siccan off a zoom. He thought he might prolong his life by using common sense, so he summoned up his energy and loupit o'er the fence. No Geordie he was turning fairt, in fact he felt real queer, so he put his arm around the wife to help her for to steer. He only got a skelptant lug that knocked it off his hat, and Maggie cries, "Behave yourself, this nae the time for that." She turned down by Jackie Cares and managed for to stop, her front wheels resting on the step of Geordie Duncan's shop. And as she calmly stepped out to hint the steering wheel, she said, "Now Dodd, what think thee, did I nae do recht weel?" Poor Geordie couldna say a word, he sat as fit's a ghost. His head was buried in his hands, his nerve completely lost. Now Maggie's passed a driving test and I awa for him, but Geordie's gone nae why, he's never been the same. The moral of the story that you hear me tell is fairly learn the wife to drive, but dinna do it yourself.
Oh dear, I do feel sorry for him. At least it ended fairly well, which is not always the case.
Look, I'm getting hungry now. How about some soup to go with that scone?
Soup with a scone? Really?
Okay, there's enough conflict in the news at the moment without us adding to it. Sometimes I think it's like history repeating itself.
My great-uncle Andrew, on my mother's side of the family, a farmer's son from an Angus glen, was sent out to the Middle East during the First World War. He was to fight in Palestine against the Ottoman Turks and Germans. I'm sure, along with many others, he didn't have a clear idea of what he was fighting for. We still have a collection of faded and well-thumbed photos he sent home of him in the desert enjoying the companionship of his fellow soldiers. Of course, there's no sign of conflict in these pictures, just the smiling faces of those eager young men, unaware of what fate had in store for them. In 1917, Andrew was killed, along with many of his comrades, and was laid to rest in a war cemetery in what we now know as Gaza. Whilst doing research into his war record, we were able to view an image of his headstone. It appeared to be in an extremely well-tended cemetery, as most war cemeteries are. I cannot help but wonder what it looks like now, during the present conflict. My maternal grandfather, Andrew's younger brother, was called up in September 1918, and by a sheer quirk of fate, he escaped being sent to France to fight in the last bloody battle of World War I. However, he was sent with the Gordon Highlanders after the armistice to tidy up the battlefields, something he could never be persuaded to talk about due to the horrific nature of the sights he encountered there. This poignant poem by John McCrae always makes me think of what these unfortunate men endured.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amongst the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunsets glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field.
Well, that certainly puts things into perspective. Here's us disagreeing about the merits of latte versus cappuccino, etc., which is really not all that important.
Disagreements are part of life, from the slightly more senior Dodd and Meg with the driving woes to the very young in the playground. I read an article online last week on this subject, which made an interesting point.
Playground conflicts are an inevitable and healthy experience for children. Argument and conflict are a natural part of coexistence in the playground. In fact, research shows that on average, students will experience one conflict at break every 3 minutes. Students will argue over many everyday things. Who gets to use a toy, whose turn it is to go down the slide, who gets to be included in a game, or what the correct rules are. These sorts of everyday challenges are actually good for children's development, as they teach conflict resolution and problem-solving skills. Kids will learn from their peers and from the guidance of any adults they interact with. After all, you can't learn to resolve a conflict if you've never experienced one in the first place.
Well, we are certainly experiencing a certain amount of conflict here. Can we please decide on our order?
They do say women of a certain age find decision-making tricky, and we certainly all know about that.
The menopause has hit me now, so I apologise if I seem a cow. Some hot stuff moments in the day, some smouldering nights, or so they say. Strong as I am, I'll get on through, knowing friends I have all you. One person I put it all on, and really glad he hasn't gone. So with this warning in advance, I hope you guys will give me a chance. My horrid words will not seem real if our friendship is as strong as steel. If tempers raise and tones get loud, my thoughts get heavy with a dark cloud. But I find it best to walk away, having my say on another day.
What are we going to have? There is a rather delicious looking lemon drizzle cake on the counter.
Oh no, that's far too sweet. What about some carrot cake? Now, that reminds me, who's on the teas for next month's SWI meeting?
In the heart of a community, a haven of grace, stands Women's Institute, a timeless embrace. A gathering of strength, of wisdom and might, where conflicts are faced with unity in sight.
Amidst the gentle whispers and teacups in hand resides a sisterhood, a bond that withstands. From all walks of life they come together to share their stories
to support one another.
But conflicts too find their way through the door in the sacred space where women explore. Differences in opinions, passions that ignite, a clash of ideas, a battle of insight.
Yet, within these walls of this cherished space, conflicts are met with compassion and grace. For the Women's Institute knows the power of empathy and understanding in every hour.
Through heartfelt discussions, minds open wide, perspectives challenged as conflicts collide. Each voice is valued, each story heard, as conflict reshapes into wisdom transferred.
For within the conflicts, seeds of growth reside, a chance to learn, to bridge the divide. So let us celebrate the sanctuary of light, where conflicts are met with wisdom so bright.
We are certainly lucky to have the support and companionship of all our members.
Definitely. Oh dear, here's the waitress coming over again. We better hurry up and put our order in before we get thrown out. Right, that will be 4 black coffees and 4 shortbreads, please.
Well done, ladies. The ladies from Mary Kirtland was excellent, thank you. And our last performance today is from Jackton SWI in Lanarkshire Federation. And we have Anne Williams, Fiona Glenn, Jane Farnham and Winnie Kerr. And they're going to produce, tell us about anything she can do. A Conflict by Christine Stephen, Enough, an anonymous poem by Winnie, The Judgment of Solomon from the Bible, The Dinner Party by Pam Ayres, Aggression by Jane Farnham, To Diet or Not to Diet by Christine J. Stevens, read by Fiona, You're Not Going Out Wearing That by Jane Farnham, and Christmas Pudding versus the Haggis, now known poetry, but read by the company. So ladies, sit back, relax and enjoy the presentation from Jackton SWI.
We are the Jackton team. I'm Fiona,
Winnie, Anne
and Jan. And before we start, there's just something we need to sort out. If you could just talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
Anything you can do, she can do better.
She can do anything better than you.
No, she can.
Yes, she can.
No, she can't.
Yes, she can.
No, she can.
Yes, she can. Yes, she can. Any dress you can make, I can make quicker.
I can sew anything quicker than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
You should see me gamble on a rural ramble.
My scones get top position in the baking competition.
I embroidered llamas on the president's pajamas.
Did she wear them?
Yes.
She's bananas. Any dog you can train, I can train better.
My dogs count sheep and they write it all down.
They don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
All the stuff that I grow wins at every flower show.
Yeah, we've heard about the rumours about your summer bloomers.
I've had my picture in the rural magazine.
No, you haven't.
No, I haven't. You'd have seen.
We hope that's clearer. Any discussion of conflict can't help but bring up the subject of war. Here are our thoughts on it.
The world is consumed with conflict. To every continent it has spread. Will mankind never learn? And many innocents are dead. In war there are no winners, and for each territory gained, there are many broken minds and bodies racked and maimed. The devastation and the carnage, the eternal thrust for power, when we look back, this is not man's finest hour. Those who fought these wars have seen atrocities and pain, and though they may come home safe, memories in their heads will remain. How can we help them? They'll need lots of love and care, But how can we understand when we were never there?
Conflict on the home front can be almost as bad as on the battlefield, as Winnie can tell you.
He didn't like the casserole. He didn't like my cake. He said my biscuits were too hard, not like his mother used to make. I didn't make the coffee right. He didn't like my stew. I didn't fold his shirts the way his mother used to do. I pondered for an answer. I was looking for a clue. Then I turned around and I thumped him, because his mother did that too. But I did it harder.
Well done, Winnie. He had it coming.
The Old Testament has a lot to say in the way of argumentative behaviour and aggression. Anne has a passage from 1 Kings to illustrate this.
One day, 2 women who were prostitutes came to Solomon. They stood before him. One of the women said, "My master, this woman and I live in the same house. I gave birth to a baby while she was there with me. 3 days later, this woman also gave birth to a baby. No one else was in the house with us. There were only the 2 of us. One night, this woman rolled over on her baby and it died. So during the night, she took my son from my bed while I was asleep. She carried him to her bed. Then she put the dead baby in my bed. The next morning, I got up to feed my baby, but I saw that he was dead. Then I looked at him more closely. I saw that he was not my son." But the other woman said, "No, the living baby is my son. The dead baby is yours." But the first woman said, "No, the dead baby is yours, and the living one is mine." So the 2 women argued before the king. Then King Solomon said, "Each of you says the living baby is your own, and each of you says the dead baby belongs to the other woman." Then King Solomon sent his servants to get a sword. When they brought it to him, he said, "Cut the living baby in 2 pieces. Give each woman half the baby." The real woman of the living child was full of love for her son. She said to the king, "Please, my master, don't kill him. Give the baby to her." But the other woman said, "Neither of us will have him. Cut him in 2 pieces. Then King Solomon said, "Give the baby to the first woman. Don't kill him. She is the real mother."
Of course, without any outside interference, we can be conflicted by how we visualise something and how it turns out in real life. Let Fiona fill you in.
It seemed like such a good idea, a flash of inspiration, to hold a dinner party. Out went the invitations, a proper dinner party too, traditional and smart, with all my oldest, dearest friends, the darlings of my heart. We'd clear the dining table of each dog-eared magazine and dust around the skirting boards. The place would be pristine. We'd pick up all the clutter, drive the hoover round the floor, and see again our carpet after 18 months or more. I'd plan a lovely menu, 7 courses at the least, an absolute abundance, an ambrosia, a feast, with table linen matching and candles burning bright. What a celebration, what a banquet, what a night. Yeah, well, that was then and this is now, and one thing's very clear. I can't imagine why I thought this was a good idea. Today's the day, tonight's the night. They'll be here in an hour. I'm absolutely shattered and I haven't had a shower. I haven't chilled the wine or put the nibbles in a bowl. I found my silver cutlery, but it's all as black as coal. I haven't found the candles. We are making do with these. One's a stump and one is bent at 45 degrees. I haven't folded napkins in sophisticated shapes or beautified a plate of cheese with celery and grapes. I haven't spent the morning on a floral centrepiece and I'm skidding round the kitchen on half an inch of grease. My husband's disappeared. I don't know where he's hiding now. He hasn't helped at all. We've had a monumental row. I don't know where the day has gone, and I am filled with dread. Forget the conversation. I just want to go to bed. The guests I thought were witty, their attractiveness has palled. The men, once so exciting, now they're boring and they're bald. The women all are shadows of their formal, vibrant selves. They're all in size 24. They used to be in 12s. I stupidly asked George. I used to think him quite a card. Not meaning to be spiteful, now he's just a tub of lard. He'll bring his lovely wife. She'll tell you all about her back. One's morbidly obese and one's a hypochondriac. I haven't found the coffee cups. We'll have to have mugs. The crumbles looking soggy and the kale was full of slugs. The meat is a disaster, undercooked and full of blood. The dogs pooed on the carpet and I haven't done the spuds. I thought I'd like to do this. I don't know where to start. I thought I'd like to see them, but I've had a change of heart. They're old recycled stories and voracious appetites. Forget the darlings of my past. They're all a bunch of shite. I meant to be the glam hostess, but kiss goodbye to that. I haven't changed my frock. I smell attractively of Pat. I've done my best. It's all gone west. I've ruined all the grub. Too late. Here come the bastards now. Let's all go down the pub.
Here's another tricky one for you. If Fiona asks you to her next dinner party, are you going? We spent some time wondering about the emotions that spark fierce disagreement and peace. And this is what we came up with.
Don't pretend that you don't know me. I'm aggression and you owe me. When you see wrong, it's me makes you see red. I put a stop to flight, put your fist up, make you fight. You know you really need me in your head.
Now stop that horrible behaviour. I am peace and I'm your saviour. I'm the lily, soft and gentle, I'm the dove. You will never come to harm while I'm here to keep you calm and fill your head with thoughts of peace and love.
Ignore conflict resolution. What we need is retribution. For what they've done, you're going to make them pay. You need to hit them hard because you hold the winning card. That's aggression, and I'm with you all the way.
Conflict needn't be your worry. There's no need for you to hurry. In time, everything will put itself to rights. Meanwhile, rest your weary head. Read a book or lie in bed. No need to heed aggression and his fights.
While they both may have their uses, they're both quite poor excuses. For thought and reason, justice and fair play, anybody who is able should bring all of these to the table, and surely they will always find a way.
War between mothers and teenage daughters is pretty much written into our DNA. Who hasn't been involved in that sort of thing?
You're not going out wearing that.
But Mammy,
No, darling, that's flat.
Pam's got one and it's shorter.
But she's not my daughter. You're not wearing that sort of tat.
Oh, Mammy, you don't understand. The girls and me have got it all planned.
You go upstairs and change it.
Can't I rearrange it?
You'll be feeling the back of my hand.
In that case, I've nothing to wear.
What? Half the next shop is up there. That pink one is snuggly.
It makes me look ugly and fat, so I won't wear it, so there.
There's no need for all this strife.
You treat me as though I was 5.
I've a good mind to gate you.
Go on then, I hate you. See you, Ma, you've ruined my life.
Did that sound familiar? Our next one is more of an internal conflict, but one I'm sure that most of us will have wrestled with at one time or another.
Today's the day, I tell myself. All biscuits and cookies will stay on the shelf. I arm myself with fruit and veg, but alas, I feel already on edge. Tonight I will have a healthy meal, protein enriched and salad. What a deal. But while I'm eating, I'm salivating for the box of chocolates patiently waiting. I will not give in to this craving, as my life I will be saving. In my head, a size 14 is me. But a note of caution, this is just day 3. Days 4 and 5, resolve goes on. And guess what? Saturday night comes along. I've been so good, I deserve a treat. Just one chocolate will keep me neat. Sunday's a day for a full roast dinner. One won't stop me from being thinner. Tomorrow I will start again. Biscuits and cakes have got inside my brain. Week 2, and I've decided it's not for me. A roly-poly I'm destined to be. Why is my resolve slipping already? I need a sweetie to keep me steady.
And finally, what could be more a gentle way to end them with a conversation between a Christmas pudding and a haggis?
Before my honest sonsy face, I'm chieftain o' the pudding race. I'm sure that obody will concede I'm tastier than haggis he'd.
Hang on a minute, nae fast. Do you not ken your season's past? We're sick of you and your brandy sauce. It's Burns time now, and I'm the boss.
At least I've got some sprigs of holly to make me look a wee bit jolly. You're no far short of being obscene, gone round wrapped up in polythene.
I didn't need nae fancy stuff. My natural beauty's quite enough. You're no the best. How could you be? 'Cause Ravi wrote that ode to me.
You mix wi' neeps and champit tatties, and follow the turkey and chipolates. You're fu' of awful fresh sheep. That'll put her gas in a peep.
Dinna ye up the flaming snooty just because your inside's fruity. And for goodness, isn't that true? And no for alcohol like you.
Oh, what's the sense of us competing? For in the end we'll all be eaten. It doesn't matter who's the winner. We'll all be identical after dinner.
We're not sure that we have resolved anything or could be of much help to the United Nations, but thank you for listening.
Well done, ladies. That was excellent. Very good. At this point, usually we would, if we were in a hall, we would now be getting ready to go for a cup of tea or do the raffle. But since this has already been cutting out the time here, I'm going to introduce you now to Jim, our adjudicator. The Jim Gibson, from Ayrshire, fellow Ayrshire person. He was teacher qualified at Craigie College. Jim has been with us before. Some of you might recognise him. And he's very keen on speech and drama. He's taken pupils to many schools and youth festivals in the west of Scotland. He was a head teacher in a primary school in Ayrshire for 40 years and worked in various schools. So, ladies, please welcome Jim to our midst, who's going to give us his thoughts on the performances this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Well, as you said, and we usually convene in the hall for some tea, coffee, biscuits, and baking. And that is what I'm really missing today. So I'll have to make do with this.
Well, good.
To the business in hand, I'd like to thank very much all the teams who have contributed today. I have been amused, engaged, and really have enjoyed what we have heard and seen this afternoon. I'd like to go through all the teams one by one and just give some plus points and perhaps some development needs for the different performances or presentations, as we might say. First, we had on board. We had Dumfriesshire. They had a very interesting take on their subject of conflict. It was formed in a style of a committee meeting, which I'm sure everyone will be familiar with. It had some very interesting points to be made in various ways. There was a blend of tradition with the committee meeting, with innovation, and they pointed up the different means by which we communicate. It was a very strong, interesting start to the piece, and there was lots of good variation in the pacing of the piece and lots of different emphases all the way through. One or two wee points I would like to make, even though it was a very natural and flowing presentation, perhaps there could have been a wee bit more variation in the different speakers. A wee bit more variation. By that I mean differences in pitch and differences in what I would term attack, the way they actually approached the piece. But for all I may say these things, I would like to thank Dumfriesshire very much for their opinions on conflict. So thank you. Then we came to Gilmerton and their approach to conflict. We had lots of good, varied choices of pieces, whether they were poems or whether they were prose. They were all well read, well recited. Though what I would say, the bridging pieces going from one reading or recitation to the next did need a little bit of work just to help keep the pace of the performance up and not to have any little hiatus in between each of them. The subjects tackled were very well read. One or two of them I was really quite familiar with. For example, the American Dr. Zeus with the Zacks. I've used that before in some of the children's work in school, but I have to say this was much better developed and approached in the way it was delivered. I also liked, in another way, the American poem, The Battleground, about the American Civil War, because that was a subject which is quite dear to my heart. A very sad poem in a lot of ways. Then we had wee changes. We went from America to Canada, and then we segued into the Twa Brigs, which is another poem dear to my heart, all rather amusing in the way that Burns was very good at developing. And finally, a very good finish to this piece, Flower of Scotland, well spoken, not sung in this case. And it was nicely presented by the company. So thank you very much to Gilmerton SWI for their presentation. Third was Jackton SWI. I like the way this started by way of conflict, very evident, anything you can do, obviously taken from the song. very good mix of voices and nicely paced, though at times it could have been projected a wee bit more by some of the speakers. I liked the way that we didn't, in this case, we didn't just hear about outwards conflict. There was inward conflict there, reference to mental illness. That's something, again, which is very prevalent nowadays, and it was very engaging to hear people talk about that. We went back to old school references with one of their poems, which is the Judgment of Solomon. Solemn biblical tale, and a very interesting resolution of the conflict by Solomon himself. Whether you would get away with something like that nowadays, I hae my doubts. There, Jackton's recitation of the dinner party brought me back to the days when I really quite enjoyed listening to Pa Mayers, and I was always puzzled by her falling away of popularity. And it was nicely put all the ways, it was nicely delivered, except for one or two, shall we say, risque words, but all the while still amusing. Aggression and peace in Jackton's presentation. It was very well written, very thoughtful, and it brought an element of personality and personability to the whole piece. And then we came to something which I'm sure all mothers of teenage girls would be well familiar with. You're not going out wearing that. I certainly am glad that I haven't had to intervene in that type of conflict situation. But this was a whole presentation which was full of varied styles of speaking, different subjects, using prose and poetry. And it was something which I would have liked to have developed further, perhaps Jackton could have a wee bit more thought about how they would expand the pieces, perhaps change them round a wee bit. But all in all, it was a very, very interesting piece by Jackton SWI. So thank you very much to them. Then we came to Mary Kirk. It was a rather interesting set of subjects and styles, I felt, touching both on the past and the present day. For one, there was a reference to a family member there who had served in Palestine, as it was known then, and has now become Gaza. I liked the way that this segued into the next presentation piece, which was in Flanders Field. Again, one with which I'm quite familiar, and again, one which caused a fair bit of, not grief, but sadness on my part. And for a bit of light relief, we went to playground conflict. Again, something which is, as an ex-teacher, I was very, very familiar with. And I certainly empathised with the children all the way through. The number of times I've had to act, not as a King Solomon, but probably as a barrack room lawyer when trying to sort out the children's conflict. That all came across very well. Now, menopause moments, I would dwell very briefly on, though I have seen the results of menopause moments, both at work and at home. But I will just say I thought that was it was a very nicely done piece. The SWI poem by Mary Kirk was a very gentle, but at the same time a very steely and determined piece of self-penned work. All the pieces in Mary Kirk's presentation were amusing, particularly the final parts. What I would say that one or two of the readings say the driving lesson needed a wee bit more variation in style. It got to be a bit too rhythmic and it needed some more differences in the way it was said. But all in all, it was a very good, very varied choice of pieces with good blend of voices throughout. So thank you very much to Mary Kirk for the SWI for their presentation. Fetter Cairn. Now, this was an interesting piece. Not least for the point of view, it took me back to different times of my life, particularly in secondary school when there were raging hormones, etc., to contend with. I think one part of the presentation there that really clicked with me was the mention of the female school supervisor. That just took me back to my days at Cumnock Academy in Cumnock, where we had a female school supervisor who was to be feared by the young ladies in the school. Not that I ever encountered her in any way, as you might imagine. Some interesting pieces again here. We had a presentation, part of the presentation on the Great British Menu Cooking. The Scrabble battle poem was a very interesting piece as well. I liked the way we had different spellings of different words, and I had to look up the dictionary for several of them, but I won't deal with that too much. One part which was really good, I felt, was the start of the poem or the presentation with a part of a song by Edwin Starr, the soul singer, which was the song War. It was very good to start with that piece, very nicely and done indeed. And I like the way that that was done with a blend of different voices, which gave it a wee bit more cohesion. This was an interesting and enjoyable and engaging presentation, though at times we could have had a wee bit less reading and commentary of pieces. for example, the Dundee Romeo and Juliet, the wedding play, if you like, that could have been altered in some way, but that would require quite a lot of work, I would say. Again, I'd just like to say thank you very much to Fetter Cairn SWI for their production of Conflict. And I wonder if you would like to say a few words before I give the winner of the piece.
Okay, well, right, thank you, Jim. Yes, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who entered and put themselves forward, and the work that you did in the background, getting your pieces put together and recording it and sending it in. It's not easy. It's much easier just stepping into a hall. Sometimes daunting when you have an audience in front of you, but I don't know. I think I would rather have an audience than a screen in front of me. So just say thank you to everybody for competing, and for everybody who has joined us today, joined us to listen to the presentations and to hear Jim's final results adjudication. So I'll just hand back now to Jim to say that. And I didn't realise, Jim, you were a Cumnock Academy pupil, were you?
Oh, aye.
Yeah, so was I. So was I. There's one or two others on here as well who were Cumnock Academy.
I think I would be well before you, Anne.
I don't know.
We could talk about that another time. Right. Now, would you like just a first place, or would you prefer...
Are we doing a runner-up, girls? We
A
usually do a
runner-up?
runner-up.
If you want to do a runner-up, we only have obviously the trophy for the first place, but if you'd like to do a runner-up, then we can do that.
Okay, runner-up. Let me just get to my point in my papers. Runner-up, first and second were very close, I have to say. Runner-up in this case was Gilmerton SWI. And
well done, Gilmerton.
Yes, well done indeed. And first place, as I said, very close between the two of them, goes to Dumfries SWI.
Well done, Dumfriesshire. Well done. That's excellent result. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim, for that, for your input, and for, I'm sure the ladies all appreciate your hints and what you have to do. The criticism always thinks a strong word to use in these occasions. So your help for future, constructive help that for future presentations. I don't know if anybody else will get the trophy to Dumfriesshire at the first opportunity we have. Perhaps Mary would like to, Mary Burney, Mary being a Dumfriesshire person, would maybe like to help to get that on the way. Mary, can you be able to speak? Mary still there?
Yeah.
Mary, yeah.
I'm not a Dumfriesshire person, I'm neighbouring in the Stewartry, but that's
well,
not
sorry.
And of course we have Jane Hogg, who's a board trustee in I'm sure Jane could facilitate that as well. One or I will get it to Dumfriesshire.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Mary. Sorry, I have to land you with that wee bit. Oh, I just always think once you're down that area, it's all Dumfriesshire.
No, we're stuck in the middle. Dumfries is much bigger than Stewartry, and we've got Wigtonshire on the other side. But all in all, the southwest's a lovely area to stay in. So,
so that
congratulations to the winners and the runners-up, and also to everybody else who's taken part this afternoon. It's been a lovely afternoon's entertainment, and it's easy for us to sit back and enjoy it. But we do realise that it's an awful lot of work that's gone into making these performances so enjoyable for us. So thank you for that.
Could we have, girls, could we have a spotlight on the winners?
Yeah, I was just working on it now.
Okay.
So we've
And
got
the runners-up.
Gilmerton here, and then we're just getting the Dumfries ladies in as well.
Okay. Good.
Is there any more Dumfries ladies here? Do you know, Sally or Mima?
Oh,
there we go.
That's Sally and Mima.
And Abby and Anne. Robert.
Okay. Well, congratulations, ladies. Congratulations to everyone else, but again, thank you all very much for the work that you've put in, and well done for being runner-up as well, but well done to Dumfriesshire. All very interesting. It's been the most enjoyable afternoon. Yes, Sally's cheering here. That's great. So for one way or another, can we just afford everyone a round of applause, please?
Yes,
for
I think everybody
taking part.
could unmute now, could they?
Yes, and a big thank you to Jim for your input. So thank you all very much, ladies.
You're welcome.